When I was younger, I used to believe that every fruit must surely be good for you. After all, it comes from nature, right? But the truth is, once we pass 60, the way our bodies process food changes in subtle but important ways. Some fruits that are perfectly fine for a 20-year-old can cause trouble for someone in their 70s. I remember a gentleman named Harold, 72 years old, who came into my office complaining of unexpected weight gain, swelling in his ankles, and constant fatigue. He thought he was eating clean because his breakfast was always a giant bowl of fruit. But when we looked closely at which fruits he was choosing, we uncovered the real problem. It wasn't that Harold was overeating, it was that the very fruits he believed were helping him were quietly making his health worse. Now, before I go any further, let me quickly introduce myself for those who might be new here. My name is Dr. Nolan Easton. I'm a men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience, and I've spent much of my career helping people over 60 reclaim their vitality, energy, and confidence. I've seen firsthand how simple daily choices like the fruits you put on your plate can determine whether you feel strong and capable or sluggish and weighed down. That's why today we're going to talk about something that might surprise you: 7 fruits that seniors should think twice about eating. Not because fruit is bad, but because your body after 60 simply has different needs. Harold's story is a good place to start because it illustrates something many of us overlook. When you're younger, your metabolism works like a blazing furnace. A bit of extra sugar, even if it comes from fruit, gets burned off quickly. But after 60, the furnace doesn't burn as hot. Sugar lingers in the blood, insulin works less efficiently, and what once fueled you can now turn into stubborn fat or even push your blood sugar to unhealthy levels. That bowl of fruit Harold had every morning was packed with hidden sugar: bananas, grapes, and pineapple. Delicious, but overwhelming for his system at this stage in life. You see, fruits vary widely. Some are water-rich, gentle on digestion, and full of slow-release nutrients. Others are dense with quick sugars that spike your blood sugar faster than a candy bar. And here's the catch: seniors often rely more heavily on fruit because it feels safe, but eating the wrong kinds, and especially eating too much, can quietly work against your heart, your joints, and your energy. I want you to imagine this: waking up and walking down your hallway without pain in your knees, feeling light and energized, and even noticing that your memory is sharper. These are not far-off dreams. I've seen patients make small changes, cutting back on certain fruits and replacing them with better options, and within weeks they felt lighter, more stable, and more in control of their health. This is what motivates me to share this information with you today, because the goal is not to scare you, but to empower you. If you're finding this helpful so far, let me pause and ask for a small favor. Please hit the like button if this message resonates, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon so you don't miss future advice. And I'd love for you to answer this simple question in the comments. Do you believe all fruits are equally healthy? Yes or no? I actually go through your responses because it helps me shape these talks in a way that meets your needs best. Coming back to Harold, when we adjusted his fruit intake, focusing on lower sugar options and portion control, something remarkable happened. His ankle swelling eased, his energy returned, and his doctor's visit showed improved blood sugar control. He hadn't taken on a punishing exercise program or a complicated diet. He just made wiser choices with his fruit. That's the power of knowledge. Let's explore why certain fruits become problematic as we age. Think of your digestive system like a well-traveled road. Over the years, the pavement wears down and traffic doesn't flow as smoothly. For many seniors, high-sugar fruits or those with tough fibers can overwhelm that system, leading to bloating, indigestion, or even spikes in blood pressure. I recall one patient, a woman in her late 60s, who was snacking daily on dried mangoes because she believed they were a healthier alternative to cookies. The problem? Those dried slices were more concentrated in sugar than the cookies she gave up. She couldn't understand why she felt jittery and had trouble sleeping until we uncovered her healthy snack was acting more like a dessert. Now, this doesn't mean fruit should disappear from your plate, far from it, but it does mean being thoughtful about which fruits serve you best at this stage of life. Some will hydrate you, calm inflammation, and steady your blood sugar. Others will sneak in too much sugar, strain your digestion, or even interfere with certain medications. This is why I often remind my patients, not every fruit is your friend after 60. Harold once told me, "Dr. Easton, I thought I was doing the right thing, but I was actually sabotaging myself." And that's a humbling reminder for all of us. It's not about blame, it's about awareness. The food industry often paints fruit with a broad brush of healthfulness, but the details matter, especially in the golden years when your body deserves care and precision. When you pay attention to these details, the changes can be life-altering. I've seen patients reduce their risk of diabetes, improve their circulation, and even sleep better at night just by rethinking their fruit choices. And it's not about deprivation, it's about swapping in better options, enjoying fruit in moderation, and recognizing that your body at 70 doesn't play by the same rules as it did at 30. So as we continue this journey together, I encourage you to think about your own fruit habits. What fruits do you reach for most often? Do you notice how they make you feel afterward? Energized or heavy and sluggish? Simply paying attention can be the first step toward change. Harold didn't realize his fruits were the culprit until we examined them together. Once he did, the path forward was simple and the results were profound. And that's the heart of what I want for you. Clarity, simplicity, and real improvement in your daily life. Because the more we align what we eat with what our bodies truly need, the more we unlock the vitality that still lies within us, no matter our age.
One of the most eye-opening moments I have with patients is when we sit down and talk about fruit as more than just a sweet treat. For decades, we've all been told to eat more fruits and vegetables. And that's true, but the nuance often gets lost. What I've noticed in my years of practice is that after the age of 60, our bodies react differently to certain fruits. And sometimes those reactions are not as kind as we expect. I remember another patient, Eleanor, who came to see me after her daughter insisted she get checked. Eleanor was 69, lively, still gardening every weekend, but she had a persistent problem. Her blood sugar was creeping upward, even though she wasn't eating cakes or sodas. In her mind, she was careful, disciplined, and thoughtful. But then she revealed something important. Every afternoon, she snacked on a large bunch of grapes while sitting outside on her porch. Grapes may seem harmless, but they are extremely concentrated in sugar. For Eleanor, those little fruits were spiking her glucose just like candy would. And because fruit sugar feels natural, she never considered it could be behind her rising numbers. This is the kind of hidden trap I want you to be aware of. It's not that grapes or other fruits like them are evil. It's that our metabolism in our senior years is no longer equipped to handle big sugar hits without consequences. In your 20s, your pancreas pumps out insulin like a well-oiled machine. By your 60s and 70s, it's more like an older engine. It still runs, but it can't handle being revved to the max every day. So what happens? Sugar lingers in the bloodstream, causing fatigue, inflammation, and over time, even damage to nerves and blood vessels. That's why I encourage my patients to think about fruit the way you'd think about medicine. The right dose helps, but too much or the wrong kind can cause harm. Eleanor made a small but powerful change. Instead of grapes, she swapped in sliced cucumber and a few berries. Within weeks, her energy improved, and her doctor told her that her blood sugar had stabilized. Sometimes it isn't about giving things up entirely, but about knowing what works for you now, at this stage of life. I often get asked, "Dr. Easton, does this mean I can't enjoy the fruits I love anymore?" And my answer is always the same. It's not about never, it's about balance. Having a slice of pineapple at a family barbecue or a banana in your morning smoothie is not going to derail your health. The problem comes when these high-sugar fruits become daily staples, crowding out the gentler options your body needs most. Think of it like gardening. You wouldn't let weeds take over your beautiful roses. In the same way, you don't want the wrong fruits taking over your diet. Let me pause here to ask you something important. If what I'm sharing makes sense to you, and if you've ever felt confused about whether the fruit you eat is truly helping you, please give this video a like and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Tap the little bell icon so you don't miss the next conversation we'll have together. And in the comments, tell me, do you notice certain fruits make you feel more sluggish than others? Just write yes or no. I read your responses personally because they help me understand what you're experiencing, and that guides me in giving better advice. Now, going back to Eleanor, what struck me most was her relief. She told me, "I thought something was wrong with me, but it turns out it was just what I was putting on my plate." That sense of empowerment, realizing she wasn't powerless, but that she could make small, smart choices, completely shifted her confidence. And that's the gift I want each of you to take from this. Your body is still capable of thriving, but it requires a different kind of care than it did when you were younger. Another point I want to touch on is digestion. Many seniors experience bloating, gas, or discomfort after eating, and they often chalk it up to just getting older. But in truth, certain fruits with tough skins, seeds, or high fiber can strain an aging digestive tract. A patient of mine, Joseph, learned this the hard way. He loved apples and would eat them whole, skin and all. But over time, his digestion struggled to keep up. He'd feel bloated and sluggish after what should have been a simple snack. When he peeled his apples, ate smaller portions, and alternated with softer fruits, that discomfort all but vanished. This is another reminder that the little details matter. What worked for you at 40 might not be the best for you at 70, and there's no shame in that. It's simply your body's way of asking you to adjust. Listening to those signals, respecting them, and making changes is not a weakness, but wisdom. I'd like you to picture something for a moment. Imagine sitting down for breakfast and knowing that every bite you take is not just filling your stomach, but actively supporting your energy, your circulation, and even your memory. That kind of confidence, where you're in control of your health, starts with knowledge like this. And it's why I continue to share these conversations with you. Because here's the bottom line. The goal is not to eliminate joy from eating. Food should always be a pleasure, especially in our later years when every moment matters. The goal is to align pleasure with health, so that you enjoy your meals and also protect your body. When you choose wisely, you're not just avoiding problems, you're actively building a foundation for more vibrant days ahead. That's what Eleanor discovered and what Joseph learned and what Harold experienced as well. Each of them thought they were doing the right thing, but with a few gentle shifts, they unlocked a better version of themselves. And you can too.
One of the hardest things I see in my practice is when seniors feel betrayed by their own bodies. They say, "Dr. Easton, I'm eating healthy. I'm doing what I've always done. Why do I still feel tired, stiff, or heavy?" And often the answer lies in small details they were never taught to notice. Fruit is one of those details. It's marketed as universally healthy. Yet once you cross into your 60s and beyond, the impact of certain fruits can shift dramatically. I once had a patient named Richard, a retired teacher, who was puzzled by sudden spikes in his blood pressure. He wasn't eating salty chips or processed foods. He was proud of sticking to natural choices. But when I asked him to walk me through his day, he shared that every evening, after dinner, he sat with a bowl of dried apricots. He said they soothed his sweet tooth. What he didn't realize was that those dried apricots were incredibly concentrated in sugar, and they were also high in potassium. For someone his age, especially taking blood pressure medication, that extra potassium was interacting with his medicine and pushing his readings higher. Richard thought he was doing his heart a favor, but instead he was unknowingly creating strain. Stories like Richard's are important because they show how health after 60 is about more than just broad advice. It's about precision. Your body is more sensitive now, and certain fruits can tip the balance in ways that may not have mattered before. Even something as innocent as dried fruit or fruit juice can flood your system with sugar and chemicals that your liver and kidneys must work overtime to process. That doesn't mean you have to live in fear of every fruit. What it does mean is that moderation and awareness become your best friends. Think about fruit like sunlight. A little is nourishing and life-giving, but too much burns and damages. When you see it that way, it becomes easier to make choices that protect your health rather than harm it. I remember a conversation with a woman named Linda in her early 70s who loved making fresh squeezed orange juice for breakfast. She believed it was part of her morning ritual of staying young. But after years of enjoying her glass every morning, she found herself with aching joints and creeping weight gain. When we looked closely, that daily glass contained the sugar of 3 or 4 oranges, without the fiber to slow it down. Once she shifted to eating just half an orange, paired with some protein, her energy stabilized and the morning stiffness improved. She told me, "Dr. Easton, I didn't know such a little change could make such a big difference." And that's the beauty of this conversation. Small changes can open doors to better health. You don't need to give up everything you love. You just need to know what to adjust and why. For many seniors, it's not about deprivation, but awareness. Choosing the right fruits and the right portions can reduce inflammation, balance blood sugar, and even support clearer thinking. Let me pause here for a moment and remind you, if this video is speaking to you, if you're starting to see how your own fruit habits might need a second look, please go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and tap the bell icon. That way we can keep having these important conversations together. And I'd love for you to tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed your body reacting differently to foods you once tolerated easily? Just write yes or no. Your responses are what guide me in making these videos as helpful as possible. Now, another important layer to consider is how fruits can interact with medications. Many seniors take prescriptions for blood pressure, cholesterol, or diabetes. And certain fruits, grapefruit being the most well-known, can interfere with how those medicines are processed. I once treated a man named Henry, who couldn't understand why his cholesterol numbers weren't improving despite faithfully taking his medication. After a few conversations, he admitted that he had half a grapefruit almost every morning. For years, he thought it was helping his heart, but grapefruit alters how certain drugs are broken down, making them less effective. Once he stopped, his numbers improved quickly. Henry was stunned and a little frustrated no one had told him sooner. That's why I emphasize knowledge. When you know the potential pitfalls, you can make better choices and avoid unnecessary setbacks. It's not about fearing fruit, but about respecting the way your body has changed and honoring the medications you might rely on. Richard, Linda, and Henry each found themselves in situations where their healthy habits were quietly undermining their health. And when they adjusted, they didn't just avoid problems, they gained freedom. Richard's blood pressure steadied, Linda's joints felt lighter, and Henry finally saw his numbers move in the right direction. These are not small victories. They are life-changing improvements that gave them back confidence and control. That's what I want for you too. Because after 60, every choice you make can either weigh you down or lift you up. The fruits you avoid and the ones you embrace are not just about nutrition. They're about your daily comfort, your independence, and your ability to enjoy the years ahead with strength and clarity. So, I encourage you to think of your fruit bowl as a toolkit. Some tools are sharp and effective, others might not suit the job anymore. You wouldn't use a heavy hammer when a gentle brush is needed, and the same is true for your diet. Choose the tools that serve you now, and set aside the ones that no longer fit. I want to take you back to Harold, the gentleman I spoke about in the very beginning. He walked into my office tired, weighed down, and confused about why his health felt like it was slipping. What we discovered together was that Harold was not careless or making poor choices, but that he was following advice that no longer matched his stage of life.
He was filling his mornings with fruits that, though healthy on paper, were overwhelming his body with sugar and slowing him down. By making just a few careful adjustments, Harold found a new rhythm. His energy improved, his swelling reduced, and he told me one day, "Dr. Easton, I feel like myself again." That is the heart of this conversation. It's not about cutting joy from your diet, and it's not about fear. It's about wisdom. With every decade we live, our bodies teach us new lessons. At 60, 70, or 80, the rules aren't the same as they were at 30. And that's not a punishment, it's simply a call to listen more closely, to nourish ourselves in ways that support the amazing bodies we still live in. I've seen time and again how making small changes with fruit can lead to big improvements. Blood sugar steadies, blood pressure normalizes, digestion calms down. Even mood and sleep can become more balanced. Fruit is powerful, but like any powerful tool, it must be handled with care. Some fruits belong on your plate every day. Others, especially the ones we've talked about, are better kept as occasional treats or avoided altogether, because your body after 60 deserves gentleness, not strain. Think of Eleanor with her grapes, or Richard with his dried apricots, or Linda with her daily orange juice, or Henry with his grapefruit. None of them were careless people. They were thoughtful, health-minded, and disciplined. But once they gained the right knowledge and made simple swaps, they felt lighter, clearer, and more in control. That's the kind of transformation that's waiting for anyone willing to pay attention to what their body is asking for now. Let me pause here one last time and gently remind you, if this message has resonated with you, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon so you don't miss future advice. And I'd truly love to hear from you in the comments. Just write yes or no. Do you think certain fruits might be quietly working against you? I read through your answers because they guide me in creating videos that truly serve your needs. Now, another important layer to consider is how fruits can interact with medications. What I hope you take away today is a sense of empowerment. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. You don't need to say goodbye to everything you enjoy, but you do need to listen, to respect the changes in your body, and to give yourself the gift of foods that work for you, not against you. Imagine waking up with steady energy, walking with ease, enjoying meals without discomfort, and feeling proud of the choices you're making every single day. That's what's possible when you choose wisely, even with something as simple as fruit. And so as we bring this conversation to a close, I want to leave you with this thought. Your health at this stage is not about perfection. It's about awareness. The fruits you avoid are just as important as the ones you embrace. The more mindful you are, the more freedom you gain. Freedom from discomfort, from confusion, and from the limitations that can creep up with age. Harold, Eleanor, Richard, Linda, and Henry are proof of this truth. Their stories remind us that change is always possible and that it's never too late to feel better, stronger, and more confident in your own body. If they could reclaim their energy and health with a few wise adjustments, so can you. So take this knowledge, look at your own plate, and make the choices that honor the vibrant life still ahead of you. Because life after 75 isn't about slowing down, it's about living smarter, with more clarity, more energy, and more joy. And I'll be here to walk that journey with you, every step of the way.